will be put up on the YouTube playlist. Yeah, well, actually, we're not using YouTube in this class. You will be for this for these videos. It's just the YouTube interface is so much easier for me and frankly for you guys. It doesn't have as much issues as I found with the UWW hosted stuff. But so in Canvas, I'll show you right here where it is. Hang on a second. Okay. There we go. So if you come to the Canvas page, this is the student view, so you won't have this like purple bar down here. But if you go through the start here, this is where the syllabus is, WebEx meeting info if you ever lose that. Go through here. Actually, I must not have published it yet, but what it will happen will be right here. There'll be a module that say Monday recordings, and that's where they'll go. And it'll probably just be a YouTube link that then you can go to. Another way to do it is to go to my, actually, no, that's the only way to do it. Sorry, because these are supposed to be like private. It's meant to be only since it's your faces also on these videos, it will be in if only if you have the link will you be able to see that, and those links will appear right here. So hopefully you should have seen this Start Here module, right? There's a video about how this course is set up, but I do want to go a little bit over that today, just because I think it will be useful for everybody. Basically, how a unit works is you have a unit outline of all the things that we're going to be doing. Then I'll just open that right here. And then you have the video lectures here. So those video lectures are, I'll click on the first one here, and it says, what is the scientific method? And there will be a video that will hopefully load here. There you go. Yeah. So that's, between the book and the video lectures, that's the bulk of the lecture material information that you will be having. And then there'll be a quiz due on that stuff, and that quiz are the numbered quizzes. Okay, so quiz 1 should be over the book and these lecture videos here. If we go to this outline, what you'll see then is there's goals that we have, the readings that we have, and then there's questions about life article, and these are the lettered quizzes that are 5 points over kind of like a popular kind of science topic. So this is, what is the latest theory of why humans lost their body hair, right? So there's an article, and then there should be a quiz. They're linked here, but they're also linked here on the module at the front. Then there's some additional resources. This unit worksheet is from a different textbook than what we're using. So it's meant as like a companion, but there's going to be some stuff in there that will be unfamiliar that we haven't really talked about, and it'll be probably in way more detail than I'm looking for. So if those help you, great. If they help you organize your thoughts, great. If there's if they don't work for you, don't use them. I think between you taking notes and the books and the video lectures, you should be good for that. Naya asks, will we be graded for participation points when we attend the meetings on Monday? Sometimes yes, sometimes no. So today, no. But there will be times where we'll be doing activities that you'll be will be passed out basically during this time that you have to get done, either probably not by the end of class, but the only way you'll be able to know how to do it is if we have it in class. So those will come in as we go, and I usually put like a due date on them by like the next class meeting. So if I were to do one of those activities and give it to you today, you'd have to hand it in via Canvas by next week. Okay, so the only thing that is timed in this course are the exams. We have 4 exams. Remember, it's exam 1, 2, and 3, which are all, let's just go right down to, where is it? Exam 1, which is over units 1 and 5, 75 points. And you have like 50 questions over 45 minutes. So it's pretty quick time frame on that, but you're not going to have to be writing stuff. You just have to click things. And then remember, you get to drop one of those exams, the lecture exams, but not the final. Okay, so if you just blow an exam, don't do very well on it, that's okay, because you'll have another chance. Also, given the size of this course, there's like 90 students. There will be like if you have to miss an exam for a reason, that'll be the one that you drop. Can't drop the final. And then you drop the lowest numbered quiz and the lowest lettered quiz. Zach writes, if we all get all A's on all exams, can we keep the exam grades? No. If you get a 92 and then a 94, 95, that 92 will be dropped, and that's just the way. But you're probably going to get an A in the course then anyway. Naya asks, no. Ethan asks, what kind of things will we be doing in the Monday meeting since the lectures are already recorded and posted? Yes. So let me stop sharing here, I think. Before we get to that, does anybody have any questions about the Canvas organization and how it works? Feel free to unmute yourself, raise your hand, chat, whatever. I think it's pretty self-explanatory. I think it's organized okay. Be sure to be looking at these announcements. That stuff will come up. All right. Okay, so what we'll be doing on Monday meetings. The Monday meetings are serve 2 purposes. The first purpose is to me interact with you, and these are your times for you to ask me questions, because we don't have that much face-to-face like interaction, right? So this is as close as we can get. The university mandates that classes over 50 have to be online, and just because social distancing can't be done very well. Thank you. That is what the book looks like. Carrie, can you look at Katie's? Actually, Katie, if you unmute yourself, some people have it probably set up where the speaker comes in real.
Yeah. There you go. Is it? I don't know if it's backwards, but that's what it looks like.
It does not look backwards to us.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, so you can get that from the textbook rental place. They should have a ton of copies of it. Shouldn't work out. And they can send you those textbooks. Oh yeah, back to Monday meeting stuff. What are we doing, right? Essential Biology by Campbell. It's with physiology. Okay, where was I going? Monday meetings. Talk to me. Yes. So if you ever have a question as you're writing notes and you're like, I don't understand this topic, this is the time for you to bring that up. That is the best time for you to do that. Certainly email me, but given the nature of email, and it's always not the best thing, I might just say, okay, hold on, we'll talk about that on Monday. Remind me to talk about that on Monday. So please, please, please come to these meetings with questions. Write them down. Put the post-it note on your computer or something and say, "This is my question." That's the main purpose of these meetings. But also, we'll be doing a lot of activities that is related to the topics that we would talk about, but from a different context. Okay, so unit one, the first unit we have here is going to be talking about the scientific method. So is going to be scientific method, how to do science. So I'm going to give you examples of what I did for my graduate work during and that'll be a different way to think about how science is working. We're going to talk about vaccines later, which we don't actually cover in the video lectures. We're going to be talking about inheritance, and we'll do some activities with that. Rather than talking about Mendel's peas, we're going to be talking about probably be talking about my kids and how we have genes passed down through generations. So that there's you should think about these Monday meetings as talk to me, supplemental information, and it's what am I trying to say? Also covering the same information, but from a different perspective. Okay, and a lot of that will be my perspective. So, yeah, any questions so far? All right. As a reminder, we have 2 quizzes coming up that's due today, right? It's the syllabus quiz, syllabus and intro quiz. Oh, and then quiz 1 and quiz A. Those are due tonight at 11:59 p.m., right? So please remember that syllabus quiz, quiz 1, and quiz A are due today at 11:59 p.m. Those due dates are going to be the same throughout the semester. Every Monday at 11:59 p.m., that's when those things are due. I know certain things happen, but those dates are meant to be. I don't really accept late work in this course. About those dates throughout from now. Every Monday at 11:59 p.m. there's going to be something due. So except for the last quizzes, I guess the absolute last unit has a little bit different. I think that's on Friday. I'll look at that. But so I don't want to extend due dates. So please try to get them done. So there's some people that are a little confused about the difference between the lettered quizzes and the numbered quizzes. So this is unit 1. We have the book chapter and these video lectures, which are right here. That is what the numbered quiz will be. Okay. Quiz A then is looking at a specific article. Okay. So this is a 5-point quiz over a popular scientific article. And I'm going to scroll down all the way to the bottom of the units. And what you see here are these questions about life articles. Okay. So quiz A has to do, what is the latest theory of why humans lost their body hair? So read this article, then I would keep it open on your computer while you're taking the quiz. And another way to get and to see where that, if you don't remember, what one does quiz A go to, click on the unit outline. It'll come up with the QAL. This is for quiz A. So questions about life, quiz A, and this will be there. This is the article that you want. The questions on the exam then will come from 4 different places: the book, the video lectures, the QALs, and the Monday meetings. Okay, so everything is fair game. So we're going to be lecturing here in just a couple minutes, and you should be taking notes on those, on that stuff. And again, feel free to be interrupting me and asking me questions and stuff. So the exams will be the book, the video lectures, the questions about life articles, and the Monday stuff. Okay? No. So Zach writes, will quizzes be open to review before the exams? Unfortunately not. This class is such that there's so many people, and I can only ask, a specific question about DNA, what matches with the letter A, and it's T in DNA. We'll go over that later. So I try not to have the quizzes open. It's not ideal, but it's the best way that I can try to make this course run smoothly without cheating as much as I can. So you should think about all this work as individual, but frankly, it is all open book, right? You should be thinking about your quizzes as open book, open notes, open whatever resources that you want to use, just on your own. This is part of the reason why the exams are timed. If you think you don't need to study for the exams, and then you go into the exam and have to look up every single answer, it's not going to work. Okay, you have 45 minutes to do 50 questions. You're not going to be able to find the information that quickly, so you do need to study for the exams. I don't think this course is that hard. It's not meant to be challenging. I mean, I don't know. I shouldn't say that. It's going to be hard for some of you, okay? But I'm not trying to be like particularly tricky, okay? So, yeah. Any other questions about how this course is going to go? Scheduling, anything? All right. I then am going to go and let's start a lecture here. If I'm ever running over time, please let me know and I'll try to finish up as quickly as I can, because I know you all, this is only meant to go until 10:50. So I might lose track of time though, and just feel free to tell me that. Okay, so we're going to talk about the scientific method today. And when you think about what science is, you might oftentimes think about a microscope. You might think about that guy up there doing lab work and stuff, and that's fine. There's definitely, that is part of science. But I am an ecologist. Okay, so I like to go out and get dirty. I am an aquatic biologist, so I study things in the water, particularly like bugs in the water. Okay, and in all sorts of different type of habitats, lakes, wetlands, rivers, and so there's lots of different ways to do science, and I kind of want to talk about that today. Now, there's the most common way that we do science right now is hypothesis-driven science. So this is the scientific method, okay? And that's that idea of you make some sort of observation, okay? You ask a question about it, you make a hypothesis about it, you predict what's going to happen, you do a test, you get an answer, and then hopefully you can repeat that study, okay? Now, real science might deviate from this method, okay? So there might be, I might not have to make an observation myself to do the test. I might not have to make the question myself, but other people can kind of do that homework and then push off the testing and to someone else. Okay, and this isn't necessarily a problem. It can be. If you deviate too far from the scientific method, there can be a problem. So I thought what it would be cool is to talk about some of the work I did in graduate school. This was oh gosh, now 14 years ago now that I started working on this, but I think it's a relatable example because frankly, your book doesn't do a good job of explaining how like biology is actually done in the real world. So what I'm going to talk about is the Kansas River. So I went to graduate school in the University of Kansas, and it's in Lawrence, Kansas, and there's the Kansas River kind of drains most of Kansas, part of Colorado, and a little bit of Nebraska, and it dumps into the Missouri River in Kansas City. So this river is about 50 miles west of Kansas City. And so let's go back here. Think about this scientific method, okay? Observation, question, hypothesis, prediction, test, and answer. So I made an observation, and the observation was the Kansas River floods. So this is a picture of the Kansas River on like June 3rd of 2006, I think. No, this would have been 2007. Okay, doesn't really matter. June of 2007. This is the picture of the river in about 2 weeks later. Okay, and this flood came very fast. The Kansas River is not like a river around here. Thunderstorms come, dump a bunch of water, and the river floods in a day or two. Okay, so in the top picture, there's 3 feet of water down. Like this is 3 feet right in here. Let me get my little laser pointer thing. There, can you see that better? There's like 3 feet of water down here. Here, there's 27 feet of water. Okay, so that's a big difference. Obviously, the river is flowing much faster. So what does that mean? My question, because I'm an invertebrate biologist, I want to know, how do the little bugs, the invertebrates, the things without a backbone, in the caw is just the nickname for the river, cope with these floods? So if you're a little bug this big and you have 27 feet of water above you flowing over you, what happens to you? Okay. Can you survive that? Can you come back from that? Can the populations rebound? My hypothesis then was there's these sandbars, and these sandbars are these big structures that they might be able to hide behind and the make like a little refuge for these tiny little bugs. So I predicted that these sandbars, this is what the river would look like when it's like 3 feet. Okay, look, it's a very different river, sandbed river. We don't really have those around in Wisconsin. I just realized something. I should say, I should have started with this. If I ever get disconnected, just hold on, and I'll hopefully be able to reconnect. I'm actually teaching from New Jersey right now, so it's. There's a lot of space between us, so the internet connection might get disrupted at times. If it does, just hold on. I'll most likely be able to come back. And if you yourself get disconnected, hopefully you can come back. And if you miss something, that's what the recordings are for. So, okay, where was I? These sandbars, okay? When the river floods then, so this is what it's like when the river is flooding, there's still the sandbars peeking out like here, a little bit over here, a little bit over here. And my idea was these sandbars might be just enough to prevent the big 27 feet of water from blowing out all those bugs from the river. So I went out and did an experiment. Okay, put it to the test, right? Now, there's different ways to do experiments. I was fortunate enough, this is a much younger me, on a really cool airboat. It had a huge V8 engine. It sounded like an airplane going down the river. It was a lot of fun. You could do like donuts in it, and because the river would be changing every single day. One day it was 3 feet, one day it was 8 feet of water, and when that happens, like trees come down, and it's like a dangerous river to be on, especially if you have like a boat. I broke a propeller once on a boat when I didn't have the airboat that was going. So it's this airboat was nice because there's nothing like in the water, and it was super fun to drive. Anyway, how do you do an experiment, or how do you do a test, I should say? You can make an observation. So you could just watch things. Okay, so like in some senses, behavioral studies are this, or when you're looking at the behavior of an organism, you might just watch what a jaguar does and see that it, oh, I watched this jaguar for 2 weeks and it ate capybaras and crocodiles, and so we know what it eats, right? So you can just observe something. You can manipulate something. So let's say you're in a little stream and you want to see the effect of, what happens if you put a chemical into the stream. You could drip that chemical or drip a fertilizer into a stream and see how it changes, right? See how it changes the plants and the bugs and the fish. Now these tests can either happen in the lab or the field, and there's benefits to either. The lab has more control, but the field has more realism. So it's not to say that science is better if it's done in the lab or science is better if it's done in the field, because control is a good thing, but realism is also a very good thing. And then you can do like computer modeling. You could model something and make changes to the model to see what happens. But what I did was a field study where I basically went out to this river and took samples in the sand, because these little bugs are living in between the sand particles, basically. And you can see here, I'm parked here on a sandbar, and I would go, random places around the sandbar, above and below and all around, and then in the middle of the river to see, where these bugs are living and what happens to their population through time. So what did I find? I found, don't really worry about this. This is a complicated graph that I don't want to get into. But what I found was sandbars, like the areas around the sandbars, had more types of bugs. It was diverse, okay? Also, when the river and where the river was more complex, and what I mean by that is, this is more complex because it has a bunch of side channels and backwaters and little tiny rivulets of going through. So where the river had more sandbars and the time frames that the river had more sandbars, there was more bugs. So this river here is the same exact spot as right here, right? There would have been more bugs in the river at this time frame, okay? And then what I found was the sandbars were the first area to get the bugs coming back in bigger numbers. Okay, so the question is, most of the bugs that I were looking at were these little things called midges that were these basically like mosquitoes that don't bite, and they're you might call them like gnats. They're not actually gnats, but most people, when they see them, they think of them as gnats, or they're these little flies that look kind of just like a mosquito. Anyway, so either the adults were coming to the sandbars first and laying their eggs, or the populations just exploded out from those sandbars much, much quicker. So the question is, what's going on here? What are the implications of this, right? So the results I got, I needed to go further from there, okay? And what I found was, so this is where the river dumps into the Missouri River. And then what here is some sort of measure of complexity, okay? So basically, when you're up high on this graph, you have a lot of sandbars in the river, and when you're low, it's just like a straight river with no sandbars. And what I found was, where the areas along the river near the cities, these cities had levees or dikes alongside the river to constrict the river, but also prevent the river from flooding out. And if you know anything about rivers, if you constrict water flow, you have the same amount of water flowing through it, it speeds up the river, and then that erodes away the sandbars. So we don't have sandbars here in the city of Lawrence or along the city of Kansas City. I should say, I don't know if you can see, I have two kids back there, and you might be hearing them screaming every once in a while, but I have a 1-year-old and a 4-year-old, so that's COVID life, I guess. So, yeah, so basically what happens is there's no sandbars along here, along the cities. So what's happening in this area is the Kansas City is basically just growing very large. And as the city grows, there's more levees going to be put, and they're going to fill these things up, fill these levees. Basically, they're continually building more levees, and then what we're going to get is, along in this area, a completely levied system from Kansas City all the way out into Kansas. Now, who cares? Maybe it might be your question. Why would I care about these little bugs that, they don't bite me, but I never see them anyway, right? And the answer to that is, well, do you care about these things, right? And when we think about a food web, the base of the food web in these systems, well, it's the algae that's in the water, but these bugs are the second step, okay? And if you want to catch a 100-pound catfish, which you can in the Kansas River, if you want to catch a 45-inch gar, this is a long-nosed gar caught in that river. If you want to do that, we need these bugs. So if we need these bugs, we need those sandbars. Okay. So my thing was, hey, these sandbars are really important. And hopefully I'm trying to shape these, essentially what I'm trying to do is shape public policy in some ways that said, this is the information. This is what I can tell you. Hey, politicians, sandbars are important. Now, you politicians now have that information. You can go make decisions about whether you want to make levees along that stream or not. The thing is, we got to be careful about the limitations of our science. So my question is asking about, I looked at bugs in the Kansas River, okay? So what does my study say about things that are going on in the Amazon River in Brazil? And the answer is probably not much, right? Do we have the same bugs? Probably not. Do we have the same fish? Definitely not. The situation there is very, very different. But so my study was done in Kansas, in the middle of Kansas. What does my study say then maybe about another sandbed river that's just north of it into Nebraska? Probably says something about that, right? I have to make qualifying statements that say, in a sandbed river in the middle of Kansas, this is what we found. So that could have an impact on what's going on in, nearby rivers or something. And I think that's very important to do, that a lot of people often don't do. So I published these articles. I wrote 2 articles on this stuff. One that was published in the Journal of the North American Benthological Society. And I'm sure all of you have read that and keep up in your subscription very, very all the time, right? Mm-hmm. No, right? The answer is no one has seen this. And if you saw an article titled Flora Refugia for the Zoopenthos of a Sandbed Prairie River, I can't even say it, the role of physical habitat complexity, right? Normal people don't read this, right? But hopefully in Kansas, it's the Kansas Department of Health and the Environment. It's kind of similar to Wisconsin's DNR. They're in charge of that. And hopefully the people there can point to, when they make a recommendation to politicians, county boards that are deciding whether to make dams and levees and stuff, and they can point to these articles and say, these scientists did this and showed the importance of these sandbars. So let's build levees in this specific way to try to help help the ecosystem and help then the people that are using that river. But there's oftentimes that this disconnect between authors and like real science and the normal person. So a little bit how we're attacking that in this class is the questions about life articles. But there's all sorts of really cool science stuff. Scientific American magazine, National Geographic. I'm sure many of you have seen National Geographic pictures of all sorts of different natural places that are really cool. There's some other sources that I really like. Neil deGrasse Tyson, he's an astrophysicist, has a really interesting Twitter feed if you want to check that out. I really like Radiolab. It's looking at really cool science, a lot of neuroscience and well, basically all sorts of science. I fucking love science.com. That's a really good website. It's got a little clickbaity now. It's changed in the last couple of years, but it still highlights really cool science that's going on, of taking the original articles and making them approachable to the average person, the non-scientists like you are. So the thing about science is that if you look at all the Radiolab and the IFL Science and Neil deGrasse Tyson's Twitter feed, it always highlights really cool, sexy science that found these really important results. Now, what if I had go back to thinking about my river bugs and found my hypothesis was these sandbars were really important. What if I had found, well, it doesn't matter, sandbars don't help, right? Is that a cool study? It is what it is. Is it an important study? Well, it's information that we know, but it's very important to know. So the thing is, a lot of what the science that gets put out and published is the cool science that found this really cool result. There's also a lot of pressure for scientists to make a career on finding significant results. But that's no one makes a career on just continually finding there's, A has no effect on B, B has no effect on C, that kind of thing. So there are problems with how we publish this science. And think about this, what's in the news right now is the coronavirus vaccine. What if we did find that, if the Moderna vaccine had come out and said it wasn't effective, or the Pfizer vaccine, do we want to be injecting people with this thing that doesn't really work? The answer is no. Is that, that's at the highest profile level. But, there's a lot of, lower, less important, maybe I shouldn't say less important, but less in the news things that are happening, that those negative results, those results that say, A doesn't have an effect on B, are extremely important for us to know. If anything, it just saves a scientist time in the future. If we already know that A doesn't affect B, we don't have to do that again necessarily, if the experiment was done correctly. All right, that is it for the lecture today. Are there questions about any of the stuff that I talked about? Scientific method. All right, any questions about how the exams, how the assignments, Canvas works? One thing I should have said, I forgot, is office hours in this class. I really want to help you. I find that students are very reluctant to come to me if they have a problem. Some of you, that might not be your personality, and that's great. But we definitely I want to spend time talking with you. I want to interact with you. So please, if you have if you're having trouble and you want to talk to me privately, there's time after this class. So basically, anytime we have these meetings, and we only do have these meetings on Monday. The Wednesday and the Friday session, that's going to be the asynchronous, the video lecture kind of stuff. So office hours then will take place at 11:50 until I'm done, basically. And then also you can email me, and there'll be time. I'm generally, due to the childcare situation, I don't have childcare. I usually think about it in the evenings. That's when I'm mostly available. But if you need to schedule something with me, certainly we can. During the day will also work too. And so this lecture that we talked about today, scientific method, my specific experiment. Is there going to be questions about the scientific method in general? Yes. Is there going to be questions about my specific study? Yes. Okay. So anything we talk about on Mondays is fair game for the exams. Not in the quizzes, but in the stuff we talk about on our Mondays will help you with some of the quizzes. But some, like when we talk about vaccines, that's not even in the normal the video lectures. So that will just be on the exams. All right. That's all I have for today. So if you need to talk to me for anything, stay on. But if not, take off. I should say, those of you that have CSD accommodations, I think I have done all of them. Like if you need extra time on the exams or something through Center for Students with Disabilities, I have put those in, so you don't have to worry about that now. And if anybody hasn't put in their paperwork yet, once I get that paperwork, then I can do that. Okay. Yeah, see y'all next week, Monday. Don't forget about the syllabus quiz, quiz 1 and quiz A, due tonight at 11:59. All right, see y'all later. I'll be waiting to see if anybody needs to talk to me.